the Community Police Mediation Project Planning Committee. We're at the IPM, we're all very excited to see you all here. And we're really excited to work with this great group of people to develop a project that we hope will be a real resource for the people of New Orleans and our police officers. So, first, before we get going, I just want to do a little housekeeping. We are videotaping today's event. There inside of each of your packets, there's a video release form. If you have any concerns about the use of your image, just talk to me afterwards, but otherwise, please give your consent for us to use this video to let the public know about our work. Also, the bathrooms are just out of this door to your right. Go down the hallway and they will be on your left, both the men's and ladies' room. Today's meeting will conclude at the latest at 4:30, but we hope to get you out of there sooner than later. So with no further ado, I'm going to go on and get started. Today we have a lot that we want to cover. We're going to spend a little time getting to know one another. And hi Terry. And each of you will get to meet one another if you don't already know one another. Then we're going to do a bit of presentation, letting y'all know about our background research about mediation, the visioning work that's been done up to this point, some terms of reference and procedural ideas and principles to help us work together as a group. Then at that point, we will pause for discussion between each of those items, and after which we will open up the floor for any public comment if there's any people who are not members of this committee who want to comment. And then we'll just talk about a few logistics like next meeting dates and wrap this up. I'm sorry for the mistake, the public comment period will come before logistics. So let's get started with introductions. First, let me introduce you to your project team. All of you will be doing the work of making the decisions or helping make the decisions about developing this program, but we provided some staff to help you in that work. The first staff person I'd like to introduce is Simone Levine. Simone is our Deputy Police Monitor. And I need to find my notes on all the illustrious things Simone has done. Simone first came to us from the New York State Assembly, where she was, I'm gonna find the notes. It's a lot of words. It's right here somewhere. Yeah, she came to us from the New York Attorney General, where she prosecuted public integrity cases as a Special Assistant Attorney General. She earlier worked in the New York State Assembly as Legislative Counsel and the New York State Senate, where she drafted legislation regarding ethics, police stops and searches, whistleblower protections, etc. We're very pleased to have Simone join our team here at the IPM. She's been with us since April of 2011. So she reached her anniversary just last month. And Simone is going to be sitting for the bar later this summer, so her availability is limited. She is running backup on any staff positions that we can't hold up ourselves.
Yeah, she's not stressed about that at all.
Not at this juncture.
The next person I'd like to introduce is Maya Terrence. Maya Terrence. Maya is our administrative assistant at IPM. She's a highly overqualified administrative assistant. She's an MBA and also a bachelor's. Her background is in social services and counseling. She will be our with cracker par excellence. She will get us all on track with our deadlines and schedules and make sure we're in meetings. And if you ever have any questions about process, Maya has project management skills and she will be operating as our project manager. Next, I'd like to introduce, well, myself, I'm Ursula. I'm going to be your facilitator for most of these meetings, and I'll be the chair of our committee. So it's my responsibility to keep us on task as well, and to modify our process depending on how our decisions play out. Excuse me. We also have Astrid Bergen with us. Astrid is our resident expert. She is the woman who drafted both of those documents that you have in your packet alongside of Julio Lopez Verona. Astrid is a forensic psychologist and a university professor with 25 years experience in criminal justice and human services. She established and managed 7 statewide services in Australia, her home country. In particular, she managed a $20 million redevelopment of offender rehabilitation programs and corrections, a established 2 family violence courts, and most recently was warden of a drug treatment prison in Sydney for 5 years, working closely with the drug court. I particularly am very impressed with that. If we ever get such a thing in Louisiana, I will be turning cartwheels.
And it was a prison run on human rights level.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, different world altogether. But she now mostly consults with governments on broader policy issues regarding serious or high-risk offenders, and is currently reviewing community-based corrections in an Australian state. Yes. I think you're from Melbourne, yes? Yeah. There's more and more and more to say about Astrid, but she is very widely published. We're really quite grateful to have her assistance. We're off to a great start with Astrid's research and work. And finally, he is not yet in the room, but another of our project staff is Julio Lopez Verona. He is a young lawyer and with a background in mediation. He has his LLM and is a member of the bar in Puerto Rico. And Allison Curry is a volunteer who recently joined our team. Allison also is a certified mediator. She comes to us from Maryland, and she joined us here in New Orleans in 2007, but she just joined our team recently about a week ago, but we're really excited to have her here as well. Now that we've done all that rundown, I'd like to take a little time out to introduce ourselves to one another. So if we could just go around the room, we'll start with Ms. Mary, and if each person could just give their name and say why they're here today and what group of people they most hope to represent and serve.
My name is Mary Lou Special. I'm a sister of the presentation. Most recently, presently I work in Central City in housing with Exodus House and Community Development Corporation with First NBC Bank. So it's kind of a really interesting mix. Most recently I was the executive director at Cafe Reconcile in Reconcile, New Orleans for 4 years. What brings me here today is just the work of Susan in your department and Chief Surpass and whatever I can do to help young people, especially young people who have had some experiences that may have a need of looking at an investigation, but also just in relationships.
I'm Susan Guidry, New Orleans City Council, District A.
Matt Fraser, Legislative Director for Councilmember Guidry.
Ted Plum, I'm the director of the Toomey Center for Peace and Justice here at Loyola, and I was a part of the original committee years ago that discussed the question of having a police review board and came up with the idea that we should have a independent police monitor, and was a part of the committee that to select our police monitor. I work with Township Recognition as a part of the program that we have at Loyola, and mostly working with schools and teaching children and teachers how to do conflict resolution, so that's, and mediation.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Cotton. I'm a seven-year plus resident of New Orleans, originally from Los Angeles. I come out of union organizing out of SCIU, Healthcare Division. Here I have been working for the past 7 years in media relations. I do a lot of communications consulting for nonprofits, especially a coalition that works on open governance that's called NOCOG. I also do a lot of PR consulting for the Culture Bear community. I work with a lot of the Second Line Clubs, Brass Band, and Mardi Gras Indians. So.
My name is Connie Washington. I'm a leader of Safe Street Strong Community, and my focus here today is to go to help along the youth, African American youth, in low income housing in areas.
My name is Mary Ellen Stitt. I work with Kids Rethink New Orleans Schools, working to organize young people in the public schools. I'm the Restorative Justice Coordinator, so my interest is in alternative conflict resolution, mostly in the schools, but we're interested in seeing in all sectors of the city.
My name is Wesley Ware. I'm the director of an organization called Breakout. We work with lesbian, gay, bisexual, and actually primarily transgender
name's Abigail Brickell. I'm the social worker with the Orleans Public Defender's Office.
My name's Jenny Hunter. I'm with the Business Council of New Orleans. And we're just very committed to changing the culture of crime in New Orleans, so here today to get involved.
I'm Michael Cowan with Common Good, based here at Loyola University, and we have been strong supporters of the establishment of the Office of Inspector General and supported the leadership of Mayor Sanderson and James Carter and others for the establishment of the Office of Inspector General.
I'm Cassie Pearson. I'm currently at Common Ground Relief Legal Clinic, which I coordinate 1 day a week. So the rest of the time I'm retired. I'm originally out of San Francisco. I've been here about 4 years. When I was in San Francisco, I was a staff attorney at Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. And I remember when San Francisco established their Office of Citizen Complaints. And I've always been very much geared towards mediation rather than arrest and incarceration.
Let's pause there. Okay. Because I want to introduce your project board so they don't have to honk their own horns. But sitting before you are the board members minus one. Judge Calvin Johnson will be joining us later. But these are the ultimate decision makers who will adopt the decisions that we recommend out of this committee. So each of them are going to address you individually, but I wanted to briefly introduce them. Of course, everyone recognizes our Chief of Police, Ronald Surpass. Chief Surpass has been superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department since 2010. Just previous to that position and in OPD, he was Chief of Police in Nashville. And I recently learned he's also been a professor here at Loyola Criminal Justice. Before becoming chief in Nashville, Chief Surpass was director of the Washington State Patrol for 2.5 years and has also served as a second in command to New Orleans Police Chief Richard Pennington. I would just like to personally add that he has been our reformed police chief here in New Orleans. He supported the work of the police monitor's office since its inception, and he has been a strong partner in developing this mediation program and has committed to supporting it in a memorandum of understanding, but also in his 65-point plan for reforming OPD. We're also joined by Deputy Chief Arlinda Westbrook. She's Deputy Chief of Public Integrity Bureau. And she's the first civilian PIB chief in our city and one of only 3 around the country. Before taking this position with PIB, she served 10 years in the city attorney's office and 3 years as assistant executive counsel to the mayor. She's a graduate of Loyola Law School. And finally, my boss, our police monitor, Susan Hudson, who came to New Orleans in one of its most difficult times to bring her experience out of Los Angeles working with that police department's reform efforts after a long and arduous period under a consent decree. She's brought her energy and her expertise here to New Orleans to help us all develop the police department that we want and deserve. And with that, I'm going to close and let Chief Surpass welcome you all.
Thank you, Ursula. You're very kind. It is good to be here with you today. If I could for a second, I'll hope you'll take a leap of faith with me and put a different hat on. I'm also elected by the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, 22,000 worldwide members in 100 countries. The IACP was formed in 1893. It's the oldest law enforcement executive organization on the planet. In 4 years, I'll be president of the IACP. And the question of mediation and using mediation in the outcome of police-citizen interaction and contact has been on our plate for a very long time. One of the other things I'd like to tell you that I'm incredibly proud of is that what Arlinda represents, and I think it's still this way in the larger cities, is only one of 3 cities in the nation that has determined that the best way to have the integrity units of the police department supervised is to use someone who's not been a career police officer. And those 3 cities are Seattle, Nashville, and New Orleans, and I'm proud to tell you I was chief of 2 of those cities. And we think it's important, and I think it's incredibly important that Arlinda bring to the table a different set of experiences. When she looks at cases, she's looking at them from the point of a trained litigator, not a trained police officer. She gives me uncanny and unparalleled advice, just like Kenethia Sawyer in Nashville did. When I got to Nashville, Kenethia was the internal affairs director on the level of a captain, and then I elevated her to the level of a deputy chief. And I think that's the coming trend. I think you'll see more and more police departments move to that as we go out into the future. Just like 10 years ago, we started using CPAs to run our budgets, instead of police officers filling a bill if there was an open position, we now use trained professionals. I think the idea of internal affairs directors, and I certainly advocate this position as a elected representative of 22,000 police chiefs, is that we should be advocating just for this. Another really critical and important piece is you can never be an expert in your own hometown. So around the nation, these ideas are well received right now. I can tell you that they're well received. And one of the reasons they're well received is putting aside that there are some officers who shouldn't be police officers, and there are some attorneys who shouldn't be attorneys, and dentists who shouldn't be dentists, etc. The vast majority of the time we have conflict in the community, it's because of misunderstanding of roles, objectives, it's because of misunderstanding of laws, it's because of misunderstanding of procedures. And what mediation does is help us cut through all that. It just helps us sit down and let some people sit across and talk through what happened, because by and large, most police officers in America are working through incredibly complex relationships when you're at your most stressed time, and they're trying to figure out what to do against a book of laws about that big and a book of procedures that big. And most often, when we can walk through that together, we come to find out that the police officer may have misunderstood what he or she was supposed to do, but more often than not, they just weren't articulate enough explaining why they were doing what they were doing. So mediation saves us all a tremendous amount of heartache. So I'm an absolute advocate for it. I believe in it. Kenethia and I tried to get it off the ground in Nashville, and the only thing held us up, quite honestly, and I know I'm being taped, is we couldn't find sufficient body of people who would donate their time to be mediators for us, because the city of Nashville, twice the size of New Orleans, did not have the budget in the general fund to pay for mediators. So Kenethia and I went to the bar, we went to the Luby Association, and we could not get enough people to agree to be mediators. So we really believed in it back then. I still believe in it now. And whatever we come up with, I know it's going to be better for us in the long run.
Well, hello and good afternoon. For me especially, since I'm the person that is over managing most of these disciplinary issues that come into the police department, Susan and I talked about this, but believe it or not, when Chief Surpass came in, one of the first things he charged me with was discussing and working on a mediation program. And we started that process probably well over 2 years ago, and have been having some difficulties with the unions in getting that process off the ground. So what has been great about this and expanding the exposure and the number of people that are involved is that maybe we can work together to find something that we can move forward with. Because for me, the vast majority of our cases involve professionalism. The vast majority are misunderstandings. In my tenure, we've tried it a couple of times just with bringing a citizen in, and believe it or not, some of it was very successful. Most people want the opportunity to be heard. They want the officer to hear what they felt at the time. And what I found is that as the officer expressed, at sometimes apologizing for his excitement and then also explaining what his process was, what his parameters were, it was very helpful and insightful. And most of the individuals that left, they would talk to me separate because they look at me as a non-police, and they would say, you know, I didn't think about him as just a person. And generally, it's just two people with a misunderstanding. We're not talking about the extreme misconduct. And so for me, if we can get through and deal with some of what I consider the professionalism type of complaints and some of the lower level disciplinary and training issues, and allow my office to focus on what I consider more proactive, aggressive misconduct cases, it would be tremendous in helping us moving forward in this whole process of reforming the police department. Because the vast majority of my cases, as Susan will tell you, a lot of times are this misunderstandings. Thank you.
And we've just been joined by Judge Calvin Johnson. Judge Johnson is the manager and executive director of the Metropolitan Human Services District, which is our public behavioral health agency here in Louisiana. It provides directly and contracts with others to provide community-based help. Judge Johnson is a retired judge from our criminal district court here in New Orleans, and he's a recipient of the Loyola University 2009 Ives Award for service. Judge Johnson, would you like to say anything?
Well, first, I'm sorry I'm late. I was in Baton Rouge this morning. The Senate Finance Committee, of course, is in deep thought, trying to deal with Louisiana's recurring budget issues, which are my recurring budget issue. And so I just got back from there. But I'm just glad to be here, glad to be a part of this process. And I think again that we can make a difference in terms of trying to do this in a way that make the public, gives the public a better impression of what the police department is, and then specifically what the criminal justice system can be generally. So I'm happy.
Thank you, Ursula. I want to just thank my incredible staff for this. This has been a lot of hard work here. I know that they have done, so I'm very grateful to them, and thank our incredible volunteers, Julio and Astrid as well. And then Councilmember Guidry, Matt, thank you for being here. I know you're incredibly busy. And Ted, Michael, thank you. I know you helped us get this venue, so I'm really appreciative. But I thank you all for being here because this is important. When we started talking about this in 2010, when we worked together to make an agreement between our offices so that we could share information and do our jobs for the people. We looked at the ordinance, and the police monitor's ordinance says I'm supposed to create a mediation project, but it doesn't say how, and that's good, because then the field is wide open for us. But we sat down and said we do it together. But one thing we know is we can't do it together. If it's a community mediation project, it's got to be of the people, by the people, for the people. So we thank you for being here and be a part of it. All I ask is that you be creative. This is a creative and special city, and we want a creative and special program. So, and we want to hear everything you've got to put into this. So, again, thank you for being here and being a part of this. We think it is going to be something very special. You've got a tough job ahead of you. You've got to balance the department's needs to discipline its officers, the public's need to be heard, and the officers need to be treated fairly. So that's not easy. That's not easy, but we know you can do that job. So again, thank you for being here.
And civil service.
That's special law.
So I'd just like to thank our project planners. Some of them might not be able to just stay with us for the full meeting, but we're gonna just go on and launch into our presentation about what we've done so far. And if y'all wanna like scoot to the side so you can see a little better, or take some other seat, whatever makes you comfortable. Yes. Before we get started, I do want to recognize Allison Curry in the back here. I mentioned her earlier, but she is one of our project staff who's going to be helping us. And this is Julio Lopez Verona, who's done a huge amount of work on this whole project and taken part of the presentation. First, the first part of the presentation, first, in your packets, you have a project blueprint drafted by Julio and Astrid along with the staff, and a review paper which goes through all the other mediation programs around the country. Due to a logistical error, you have the appendix of that review paper, but not the